we talked about the quote unquote Chinese spy story.
We are.
Hold on. And I got to say, sometimes I thirst for the dumbest takes on shit that I know a decent amount of information on. And I can turn to only a few people to really get the dumbest takes. And Bongholio tends to take too long, and it's just aggravated and whatever. But this is Glenn Beck, everybody. And apparently it says alleged New York Chinese spy is just the tip of the iceberg. Well, again, if the allegation is that Joe Biden is under the thumb of China, then why wasn't this person discovered while Trump was in office? Why was this person indicted and like ratted out and discovered while Biden is president? Why? And if Kamala Harris is next in line to the kind of power that supposedly China wants for the country or something, why would they get her out, get the spy out before Kamala comes in? Wouldn't she just be useful to doing what they're doing? Okay, here we go.
We're under attack in so many different ways. One of those ways is
your constant attack on our intelligence.
We have been infiltrated by China, and they're...
Oh, you have? Uh-oh. Everybody, look out. The blaze has been infiltrated. Oh, it's the wrong one. Sorry. My bad. Sorry. The blaze has been infiltrated by China. Anyone who doesn't know how to use chopsticks, please report to the bunker and start eating your giant barrel of beans.
There are Chinese spies
everywhere. It's a little bit of Changlong Wohu going around. Just in case you don't know, because you don't speak Chinese, Changlong Wohu is the real way you say crouching tiger, hidden dragon. They say it backwards. Hidden dragon, crouching tiger. Changlong, which is a hidden dragon. Wohu, crouching tiger. Just letting you know. Hu is Horton here's a who. In China is Horton here's a tiger. It's a totally different story.
Everywhere, and they're at the highest level.
Yeah, the highest level. I mean, this one was a deputy chief of staff to a governor, but yeah, the highest level. Sure.
We now found out.
Oh, did you find out? How'd you find out? Oh, because the DOJ released the information on their indictment. That company, that part of the government you are constantly maligning as not doing their job and allowing America to be undermined. Those people. Did you find out? How'd you find out? You mean because you read the fucking New York Times or the Post today?
We now find out that we have Kathy Hochul's assistant, the governor of California, high-level advisor, has been being paid by the Chinese government to help them out. How much is your citizenship worth? How much would you sell your country out for?
She's not a citizen, stupid.
Peter Schweizer is here to tell us any details that he has. He's been following.
Yeah, but Peter, give him some details.
The Chinese infiltration for a very long time.
He has. He's been walking around. He's just anywhere. He's here's the crunch of fortune cookies. He's ready to pounce. Now I want like the ribs from P.F. Chang's. Thanks a lot.
Welcome, Peter. How are you?
Hey, I'm great.
If he had a nickel.
Glenn, always good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So in your book...
Thank you. We're both very sad today because an operative was discovered and is being charged under Joe Biden's DOJ, and it totally fucks up our whole narrative. Are you okay?
Blood Money, Why the Powerful Turn a Blind Eye While China Kills Americans. You talk about how...
Jesus Christ. Written during the Trump era, I have no doubt.
Many, and both on the Republican and the Democratic side.
Sure.
How many people are selling their souls to China?
I'm not so much worried about souls being sold to China. My worry is the kidney.
The kidney has a very special place in the heart.
Agreed. Okay.
Tell me about this case. What do you know about it?
Yeah, so Linda
Fill in the blanks. I haven't bothered to read it.
Sun was the deputy chief of staff for Kathy Hochul. Before that, she served for years in senior positions for Andrew Cuomo. She was his deputy chief diversity officer, for example. And essentially,
Look at, oh God, deputy chief diversity offices is terrible. Oh God, the fact that even exists, it's a Chinese plot.
what she's being charged with in a 60-page indictment is getting millions of dollars from the Chinese government and from the CCP. And she took her position and used it
If you know what I'm saying.
for the benefit of China. So, for example, she blocked representatives from the Taiwanese government from even having access to the governor's office.
Wow.
She altered state messages.
Also, she did not block Taiwan from having access. She limited their access, and she tried to limit it every way she could. She didn't have the power to just shut out fucking Taiwan. Just letting you know. Like, it's one of those things where, like, I don't know, nobody called. I don't know. We didn't get any calls, not that I know of.
That were important to Chinese officials. So she'd literally change a message to benefit them. She also helped Chinese officials travel to the United States. She issued unauthorized invitations that weren't approved by anyone else that allowed government officials to come into the United States. And she gave...
See, I don't know why she would have to do that. If the border's wide open, can't they just walk in? And also, if you know, the Democrats are completely eaten up with the Chinese government and are under its thumb or controlled by it or require its money or whatever, working or in cahoots with it, then why would anybody even need to sneak around? Why would she have to do this under the table? Couldn't she just go, hey, Hail Hydra? You know what I mean?
Chinese officials access to private New York government conversations during the COVID-19 crisis, explaining how they were going to respond. She would actually patch them in on these high-level group telephone calls. And in exchange for that, according to prosecutors, she received a lot of benefits from the Chinese government. She was able to buy a $4.1 million Long Island home, a $2.1 million condo in Hawaii.
Yeah, that would be, I think, as a deputy chief of staff where red flags might go up. Now, she's married and her husband actually is part of this. She didn't buy it by herself, and that's why you could hide the fact that they have these things because, oh, that's my husband's house or whatever. You know, they were. That's why it lasted as long as it did.
She and her husband also bought a 2024 Ferrari Roma. And I guess maybe my personal favorites is Glenn. She's also accused of getting 16 meals that were prepared by a Chinese government chef. They were
salted duck,
Nanjing-style salted duck, which sounds good to me.
Yeah, I mean, it changes. You know, once you hear the salted duck thing, that she got 16 of them, you think, well, you know, maybe.
It's a holiday dinner, by the way. It's a fancy. So yeah, salted duck. I prefer Beijing Kaoya myself. You know, but here I'll show you guys the. Let's see. Go back to here. Let's see. Yeah. It. By the way, it doesn't look nearly as appetizing as you might think. Yeah. Here you go. Oh, it's not even. Yeah. There you go. Nanjing. Here you go. This.
大家好，欢迎光临大鱼食堂。
Oh, welcome. Thank you.
今天我们来做
今天 which means today. Yeah.
煮的家乡特产南京盐水鸭。
Nanjing Yanshi Ya. Ya means duck, by the way. So Kao Ya is roast duck. Beijing Kao Ya is okay. It's a cold. This is a cold duck dish. Look, I've eaten a lot of Chinese food, legit Chinese food in my life. This is not Nanjing Kao Ya is not at the top, or Nanjing Yinjia is not at the top of my list. Let me show you what I would rather have. Hold on. Beijing Kaoya. Here we go. Oh, look at this. Hold on 1 second. Beijing roast duck. This is this is at Hello China. This is Beijing roast duck. There we go. Then there's the dinner and the thing, and then a lot of times you'll see these ducks hanging in windows. That's them prepping for Beijing roast duck, Beijing Kaoya. Also known in the old ways as Peking duck, because Peking and Beijing were different pronunciations of it. And it comes with these little vegetables, like pickled vegetables and some other things. And then there's a little a rice bun, like a little rice taco almost. And you fold it up. They got the flat style here, but they have the puffy style, which is like kind of soft, and it's and then it's super delicious. Anyways, much fancier. It's hot too, so it's a hot roast duck, which makes a lot more sense. I'm just saying, if you're gonna throw away your life, chat, for a Chinese duck dish, I would go with Beijing Kaoya. Just saying. All right, now back to this dipshit who doesn't know anything.
It changes things dramatically. Why did it take so long for this to become apparent? What does her husband do, by the way?
There were 4 years of the Trump administration and a few months before and certainly months afterwards where people that they had put in ran interference and might have done it. Because you'll notice they weren't discovered. She started doing this in 2015-ish. It was when she got her first gift that would have been seen a little bit later while Trump was in office. And then she was hiding in plain sight. She burrowed her way in, but then the DOJ found her under who's the president right now?
Do you know?
Well, her husband in New York ran a sort of export-import business, a little bit vague. But the other thing, really? Glenn, is that she apparently, according to the indictments, think about this, she's a senior state official for Andrew Cuomo and the current governor of New York. She apparently ran her own business in China, in mainland China, which is where she was born. She's a naturalized U.S. citizen. But she actually had a business in China that nobody knew about it. And the Chinese government also apparently gave her cousin a cushy job. That is mentioned among the indictments as well.
How
would you have to even do something like that? Why would you even have to do something like that if Democrats were already supportive of you? If they were just willing to take the money themselves, why would you have to sneak around?
How many more are there? How widespread is this, Peter?
Oh, it's a massive problem. And look, this is something you...
Yes, and by the way, no one on the Republican side is going to turn in the person on there. You are only hearing about ones aligned with Democrats because the Democrats are comfortable purging spies among them. The Republicans are not. He even started this out saying they're apolitical in this. They're there to sow division and all that kind of stuff. So it doesn't matter. Half of them will be the Democrats and half will be the Republicans. The only ones you're going to see busted without a major shift are on the Democratic side, because once the FBI comes and says, we need you to cooperate, we think there's something hinky going on here, the Democrats say yes. Republicans say no.
You and I have been talking about since 2018. You've talked about...
Who was president then? I don't remember.
...about it on Blaze TV, and that is that they have avoided really enforcing the Foreign Agents Registration Act.
Oh, fuck you. You mean that act you guys think was weaponized against Paul Manafort, a guy who hired snipers to shoot people on Euromaidan, a guy who hired dudes off Craigslist to have sex with his disabled wife while he masturbated in the corner against her will? Which is why and you guys think, how dare they use FARA to go after Paul Manafort? Get the fuck out of here.
Which requires, if you do anything to benefit a foreign government or a foreign government-linked business, you are required to file with the Department of Justice. And they didn't really support this law at all. And then, of course, they've used...
Who's they, motherfucker? Because Trump didn't do any of that stuff the entire time he was president.
...it against various Republicans, which, you know, look, if they're guilty of it, they're guilty of it. They should...
Yeah, exactly.
...be charged.
Yeah.
But it's been selective. This case...
No, it hasn't. It's been who they can catch.
...was a long time coming, and of course there is that, I think, strong case for these same violations that took place by Hunter Biden, taking millions of dollars, and yet
from the Chinese,
charged with anything. Yeah,
correct.
Yep,
correct.
By the Chinese, by the Ukraine.
No, not correct, because that was all above board. He was in business. Literally, the reason why that deal fell apart is because his Chinese, business partner refused to set up a U.S. affiliate in the country that would be under U.S. law. And when they refused to do that, the deal fell apart, asshole. It's totally different. You're allowed to have legal businesses with other countries in the United States. You're allowed to start a business with fucking Germans and Taiwanese and Chinese and fucking everybody but Iran and Russia right now, practically. And even problematic countries where you're private people in problematic countries, right? You're allowed to do that. And there are safeguards on it. If they're not going to build a business over here, you got to register as a foreign agent. If they are going to do it, you set that up, and that company, that entity, that LLC that you work on is under U.S. law. And therefore, if there's a warrant issued for the contents of the business records and all that kind of stuff, there's a place where they can get it because it takes place in the United States. So that's what Hunter Biden, as a lawyer, was setting up with the Chinese gas company that they were, by the way, and Trump had deals with these same fucking people, and he didn't bother. Ivanka didn't bother. They didn't set up another business in the United States. Hunter Biden tried to set up this oil and gas deal, this natural gas refinery deal in Texas. And when it wouldn't go through because the Chinese dude he was working with would not set up it wouldn't sign the papers to set up this U.S. entity, and then disappeared. That's what that was. This is not that. This is not that at all. Donald Trump got a $17 million payday while he was president of the United States in a bank account he had in China with no corresponding U.S. business.
By the Romanians, by the Russians. I think you could make a fair case in every one of those instances when it relates to Hunter Biden. And the Department of Justice now, in their tax case against Hunter Biden, has even said that he was running a foreign influence peddling scheme, but he has yet to be charged under this foreign agent.
Yeah, that's because he struck out. Here's the problem. Okay. If you're, first of all, you actually have to have influence. So again, in the situation where he was allegedly working with Joe Biden, Biden's not even president and he's not even running during this window. Okay. The other part is Hunter Biden, when he was, you can make fucking phone calls and go, I'm trying to start this business deal and I'm working with these guys and they're working with me. And what do you think? And, would you want in? Is this something? What's our limitations? What's our regulation issues with it? Is there any opening? Does the law look like it's going to? You're allowed to call your representative, ask him all kinds of fucking questions. You're allowed to call the office of anybody on these committees. And if you can reach them, you can talk to them. You can say, all right, I want all this information. You don't have to be a registered foreign agent to do that. If you're trying to get a government contract or sway policy, then you are. But then you actually have to have the influence in the first place. Otherwise, you're just an unregistered lobbyist, and that's not the same thing.
Registration Act, which is what Melinda's son has now been charged with.
And he got more than salted duck. Well, maybe. I mean, I saw some of the videos. He might have. Anyway, let's move on.
That's a sex joke, I think. Did you see some of the videos? So I haven't watched the videos. I've seen pictures, most of them blurred out. I didn't go any further than that because I didn't need to see it because dude's not running for office and I don't need to see him naked. But you've watched some of the Hunter Biden sex videos. That's what you're telling your entire audience on The Blaze. So you've seen Hunter Biden's cock, Glenn. In action, turgid and otherwise, yes, apparently. And it's important for people to know that you've seen them. Okay.
Peter, I can't thank you enough for all of the work that you have done. My mood never improves after talking to you, but I'm appreciative of the knowledge. Can I get a read from you on how optimistic are you that?
Oh my God, he doesn't even know how to address this fucking story. They're trying. That's why they dovetailed it towards Hunter Biden. It's because it's good news. If we had a spy in the government and that person got caught, good. Jesus Christ. The real story is how often these assholes will shit on the FBI and the DOJ, and these are the people who caught this person and her husband. They're also the same people who caught Bob Menendez and his wife. They're also the people who are going to catch Donald Trump for the $10 million he got from Egypt. He's fucked. Bail out, dum-dum.
That we can turn things around with this.
Why would you turn things around? So you want to turn us back to a time when, like under Trump, where these people weren't getting caught?
Election.
I'm cautiously optimistic. Look, I mean, the bottom line is we have to be realists. The reminder.
We have to be realists. Our candidate is a fucking moron, and so are you, Glenn. We're operating with some pretty blunt tools.
Here is that we don't want to be optimistic because you're naive, but you don't want to be pessimistic because then you just give up all hope. And the bottom line is I do think that look, there are people around Trump that have Chinese connections, but there are also people around Trump that recognize this problem. And I believe
never the twain shall meet. Who would that be? Just one person. Who would you say? Steve Bannon's in jail, but who else around Trump has Chinese connections? Which is, by the way, one of my favorite Bruce Lee films. Just saying. I could literally smell the room I was in when I watched it for the first time and the food I was eating because it was so impactful on me.
Those are in the closer inner circle. When you look at Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, I mean, Tim Walz did not get money from the Chinese, but he fits the definition of a fellow traveler. And my fear is that with him, fits the definition of a.
Hold on.
Did not get money from the Chinese, but he fits the definition of a fellow traveler. And my fear is that with him as vice president, because he's had exchange programs, with China for 30 years, they'll make him the point person on China policy. And then, God forbid, I think we're going to be in deep trouble.
What the fuck? Okay, no. Here's the thing. You have to be fundamentally naive to believe that China's the same country right now that it was 10 years ago, much less 30 years ago. So it's just fucking stupid. On top of that, his awareness of the culture means that he's good with the people, but he doesn't have to like the government. These guys can't separate the two in any way. So much so that's why there's so many people connected to Trump that are connected to China, and he doesn't have a fucking problem with it.
So you're going to be in deep trouble. Peter, when you look at everything that is going on and what they are now.
Let's look at everything that's going on. Thank you, Glenn. So, we've been so myopic, you and I, viewers. When you look at everything that's going on, and thank God that doesn't lead you to generalize about shit where you have blind spots and you don't pay any fucking attention. Sorry, it was a rant. I get it.
Admitting to and saying, we're going to do price controls, we're going to do unrealized gains tax, their stance on war, their stance on everything. I mean, there is no way that if that's your plan, which is coming together oh so nicely, especially when it comes to controlling free speech all around the world, and we're involved with it in England and in Brazil.
Why? Neither of those countries have free speech. We left England and we fought a war with them over that very thing. And Brazil never had it. Who gives a fuck? Again, why the fuck is it America's problem if one country out of dozens that don't have free speech also just doesn't like Twitter all of a sudden? Why is that on me? What the fuck does that have to do with any of us? It's on here. You can post whatever the fuck you want, and if people down there can scrounge up a VPN, they can use it.
There's no way that Donald Trump, that they could allow him to win, because he really is the only thing standing in the way of all of these very nefarious plans.
What nefarious plans are you talking about? You mean the elimination of a woman's right to choose permanently? You mean selling out our workers to China and selling out Ukraine to Russia? And he's not the blocker on these things. He's the point person for all this shit.
Yeah, I mean, this is the weird place that we are in America, Glenn, where you have
No. Glenn is in a weird place. I don't know where the fuck this guy is. He's on the phone, so none of us know. But Glenn's entire environment is fucking weird.
Donald Trump, who sort of breaks all molds.
No, he doesn't. There's plenty of adjudicated rapists out there who are proud of their sexual assault. There's nothing original about that motherfucker.
And one of the people that's vigorously supporting him is Robert Kennedy Jr., who also breaks a lot of molds. And they
like the whole polio is bad mold. You know what I mean? The mold that actually gave us penicillin.
Will disagree on certain policy positions, but the point is they recognize the essential problem, and the essential
problem is the big them.
Problem is this desire for control and dominance, where the left has essentially been fused with corporate America. Big government and big business are not enemies; they're actually allies. And
why would they be allies if the left wants to turn everybody into a communist state? Why would big business line up to be slaughtered like this? How's that make any fucking sense? Does anybody know what the fuck this guy's talking about? Because I don't.
And this is the place that we find ourselves. And I think
You don't find yourself there. You live in a fucking cartoon. Does anybody ever, on any of these shows on The Blaze, ever push back even marginally and go, well, ever? Does anybody actually say, well, without following it up with a joke that it's actually worse? Because Glenn does that all the time. Nobody ever goes, you do realize you're talking out of your ass, right?
What the Harris campaign is really...
You're not even allowed. That's the thing. You're not even allowed. People are allowed in my chat and I interact, and sometimes we have trolls and maggots in here sometimes, and I'll interact with them. I try not to feed the trolls, but I do it. You know what I mean? But I will. I'm not afraid to interact with them, right? This motherfucker, they intentionally live in a bubble. Talk about confirmation bias and walking around with blinders on. It's odd because for all the prepper shit that Glenn Beck sells, it seems like he lives in a hermetically sealed life, like a container, like a biodome. He's got his childhood bedroom set that he's in. He's got his radio set that he's in, and his little chalkboard set that he's in. And he bounces back and forth between the three and never steps outside except to go to Montana for these contrived duck hunt kind of experiences, which have no attachment to anybody else. He's not flying coach. He's not walking around malls. He's not going to the store for real on his own, right? He barely gasses up his own fucking truck, right? They don't live like anybody else. And he thinks Twitter's a fucking window.
What we're trying to do is bank that a sizable proportion of the American population, voting population, is going to be ignorant. So they play this game where they talk about these policies.
What do you mean, yes? No. That's what you're doing right here. This is a genuine story. This Chinese spy being in Hochul's office and being in Cuomo's office and what she did while she was there and the money that she made doing, that's a real story. It's also a real story that it was Biden's DOJ that finally caught her and her husband and the entire scheme. And that she went by under the radar all during Trump, and they never went anywhere near it. Same thing with the Chinese police, the police departments, the illegal police departments that were in the country, right?
Prescriptions that really don't have widespread popularity. You know, this tax on unrealized gains is just ridiculous, but they're obscuring it enough to where they think that a lot of people won't even be aware that that is her position. That's the game that they're playing, and I still want to have enough faith in America that people are going to see through that and understand what's going on.
Yeah, I hope so. Peter, thank you so much.
Thanks, Peter, for being brought on to talk about one thing and just rambling us off into a fucking corner. Thanks, Peter.
God bless you. Keep on the on the trail. You bet.
Keep on the trail. I say trail like things because I live in the woods. It's not real woods. That's a picture of outside. The door's not actually open because a possum might walk in, and I'm scared. This is my fake woodsy cabin set, where I can pretend to be a cowboy, wear my cowboy dress up. I'm a cowboy dress up. Look, my set's a spaceship, but I'm fucking around. I made these in AI, and I can switch back between them and all that kind of stuff, and just because I like it. But at no point am I like, I didn't have a crew build this fucking thing so that I could really walk around. I'm doing my show really from space. I'm doing it. I'm doing it from space. Like I'm doing the Glenn Beck voices. He'll understand. I love the ship as well, right? Jesus. So it's just so fucking lame because it's an important story. That's the worst part of it. Glenn, it was hand fucking delivered to you. It's a Chinese spy story, man. All you got to do is report on it. And you manage somehow to suck all the value out of it.